Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mac, but today you can just call me Patriku. Yep, that's how you say my name in Japanese. We're going to Japan today. We got a couple of Q posts and a couple other stories I want to hit up with you today. But first, let's head off to the land of the rising sun. John, before us, we see how many Q posts? 2. That is exactly correct. It is also a little bit easy for you. I feel like you should be challenged more. Just saying. 33:48, 56 minutes after the hour of 11. Q drops his Twitter link right here, and it is to, I'm gathering that's Phoenix 24, PHO3N1X24. I'm going to guess that that's Phoenix 24, and that's what I'm going to say. Either way, says Japan knows Q. Did you think this movement was an isolated anomaly? Bigger than you can imagine. Where we go one, we go all worldwide. Very, very nice. Well, I'm not sure if Phoenix 24 is located in Japan. I guess it would be safe to assume so. But according to their Twitter page, it says basement of the science building. That could be basement of the science building in Tokyo. That could be basement of a science building in Milwaukee. We don't know. Let's just hope that they're not trapped in the basement of the science building. Even though it's probably roomy there. That's not important. The important part is the picture right here. And here we are in Japan. I'm assuming this is Tokyo. This is where Trump had stopped off. And it looks like they're all saying hello. Check this out. Thank you, America, for liberating Japan. Very nice. Nice looking little crew right here. And everyone's looking pretty good. And oh, look at that right there in the middle. Look at that. What is that, John?
A cue.
I know. How could you tell?
Just gotta see it.
It does gotta see it. Well, let's go check out this Japan trip. This is an official video from the White House Twitter. POTUS tweeted this some hours ago. We are at Ryogoku Kokujikan Stadium, and as you can see, everybody's located right in front center for the big festivities. We got ourselves a big, fat sumo match. Pun intended. Let's check it out. It's all intense. Oh, look at that. Do you see it? Do you see it? Of course you do. Looks like in Japan, these people know that in order to create quality content on your video phone, you need to turn your camera and take a proper video. Just saying. He's like, I'm Salt Bae. He's, no, I'm Salt Bae. The ref's like, I don't care who Salt Bae is. This is my garden, and you guys are making a mess. Yikes. So lots of pomp and circumstance. Good Lord, a couple of Buicks right there. Sorry about the lag. That's what he's saying too. He's like, God, those are some big boys. He's like, I'll beat you with my stick. But first, let me stretch. There you go. Look at the size of that trophy right there. And Donald Trump, who's a pretty big dude himself, trying to lift it. And he's like, oh, here, you take it. My goodness. So there you go. Nice. All right, so POTUS is in Tokyo talking with Shinzo Abe and also meeting the new emperor. He's the first head of state to do that, which is quite an honor, I would imagine. So I want to show you a little bit of the video in regards to the press conference that they had, but it's kind of long, so I made a little montage. Check it out.
Oh, it's a montage, because we ain't trying to watch the whole dang thing now.
Well, thank you very much, Shinzo, and this has been not only an honor, it's been fun. It's a very important moment because of what we're doing today with respect to the new emperor, and having gotten to know the emperor and also the emperor's family, meeting his father and mother. It was very special the last time, and this is very big. It's a very important thing, not only in Japan, but all over the world. They're talking about it. And it's very exciting to be a part of it. And we look forward to having an incredible evening tonight with the Emperor and his family. We've had some great talk on trade. We've had some great talk on the military. And we discussed, of course, North Korea. I think we've made a lot of progress on a lot of subjects. Our relationship, I think I can speak from the standpoint of the United States, has never been better than it is right now with Japan. I feel that we understand each other very well. We're very committed to each other as nations. So we have a situation where we have the best relationship that we've ever had with Japan, and we're going to keep it that way. This meeting really was having to do with the enthronement of the emperor and the celebration of the enthronement and the meeting. And I will say, right from the day the Prime Minister mentioned it to me, he said that the United States is the first country that's invited to meet the new emperor. And that was a great honor. That's a big thing. 202 years, that's the last time.
Let me just interject real quick here. If you'll notice, the POTUS seems to be using the word emperor as opposed to emperor. But when he mentioned the family, he said the emperor's family. At least it sounded like it to me. I could be over-analyzing this, but I just did want to interject that emperor is actually it's a military acronym, and it refers to the deployment of amphibious forces, being EMPRA, embarkation, movement, planning, rehearsal, and assault. Just wanted to point that out. It is also a group. It's a political risk analysis group out of Mexico City. I'm not so sure that he'd be referring to that. And it might just be an accent thing. Not really sure, but we have seen POTUS mess with the words a little bit before, so I just thought I'd point that out.
Prime Minister Abe and myself will be meeting really for, I guess you could say, 3 separate meetings with 3 separate groups to discuss 3 separate things, all very important. Military, trade, North Korea, and there may be some other elements thrown in there. But
my guess is Russia.
We will be announcing some things probably in August that will be very good for both countries. We have to do a little catching up with Japan because they've been doing much more business with us. We'd like to do a little bit more business in the reverse. The balance, we'll get the balance of trade, I think, straightened out rapidly. Japan's been buying a tremendous amount of military equipment from the United States. We make the best in the world. And as you know, they feel that they need it, and I feel that they need it also.
Okay, so a couple things I want to point out here. Very similar to our relationship with China, it looks like President Trump is trying to get a more fair trade deal. And it looks like a deal is going to be announced right around August, so not too far out. But I also wanted to mention, if you'll note, President Trump mentioned that they were purchasing military equipment, and that's going to be very important to Japan. Well, Japan hasn't been in a whole lot of wars as of recent, but they sure are a little bit nervous about North Korea. So I have a feeling that whatever that deal there might be the unspoken bigger deal that no one wants to talk about. Of course, mainstream media is not going to mention that, but who knows? That could be a multi-billion-dollar deal. It remains to be seen, and maybe we'll find out by August. But the reason I bring it up is because very similar to the North Korea summit that we had just recently in Hanoi, Vietnam. If you'll remember, I reported to you that there was another big story that was going down there that nobody seemed to mention, which was this massive multi-billion-dollar deal with Vietnam. Now, Vietnam, of course, has a lot of, how should I say, friction with China to the north. And so this was a pretty big deal, but it was also involving Boeing. And I have a feeling it has a lot of relation to why we've had so many problems with this 737 MAX, and that was all starting to happen after that deal had gone down. So it remains to be seen, but I just want to rememberize you because it may not be important now, but it's important. I also want to rememberize you that back in January of this year, Shinzo Abe traveled to Moscow to meet with President Vladimir Putin, and they were discussing trade. Also interesting indeed. They were also discussing this kind of odd territorial dispute ever since World War II, and these are the Kuril Islands. Now, I just want to point something out that I think is of note. The sovereignty of the islands has been disputed ever since, meaning ever since World War II, souring relations between the two nations. Moscow has long argued that Japan renounced all claims when it signed its peace treaty with Allied forces. Tokyo, meanwhile, points to the fact that Russia never actually signed the treaty and argues that the islands were illegally captured and remain part of Japanese territory. Previous proposals by Moscow have included handing over the islets to Japan, as well as offering joint control of economic activity over the islands. Okay, so Russia's going to give this over, both of which have been rejected. One of Russia's main reasons for not ceding any further territory is its use of the islands as a military base, which it likewise fears may be used in a similar way by hostile forces, including the United States, should Japan be in control. Okay, so this was an economic decision, but also a military decision, and it seems like Russia was willing to make some concessions in order to soften up relations with Japan, and now all of a sudden we've got this summit here in Japan with President Trump and Shinzo Abe. I also want to point out that these are really interesting times for Japan. They're kind of at a crossroads themselves. Now, they have just experienced a bit of an anomaly with their previous emperor stepping down, Akihito. And of course, he's old and he's citing health concerns, so I guess it's not that surprising in this day and age. But it still is rather strange. And of course, this is his eldest son, Naruhito, who is the one that is meeting with POTUS. I also think that is some sort of move of significance. But it looks to me like Japan is reaching out, probably both to Russia and the United States. After all, they've got a growing concern with, like I said, North Korea. But I think they're also very concerned about, the rise of China all over the world. And I've long pointed out on Twitter especially to keep an eye on the South China Seas. And it seems like this is a lot of global posturing, and I think that that's why there's probably a lot of significance in the military purchases. I would not be surprised if President Trump, along with the trade talks, comes out and announces some sort of arms deal. Not really sure, but it would, like I said, it would not surprise me if that did happen. And like I pointed out too, Russia is also sort of making amends for relationships that go as far back as to World War II, just like the U.S. So it seems like a lot of significant global posturing out there, but it remains to be seen. Well, Japan's got some pretty good reason to be nervous of North Korea as well as China. Here was a little thread I did the other day in regards to a tweet from Donald Trump. North Korea fired off some small weapons which disturbed some of my people and others, but not me. I have confidence that Chairman Kim will keep his promise to me, and also smiled when he called SwampMan Joe Biden a low IQ individual and worse. Perhaps that's sending me a signal. Okay, well, I immediately latched on to the SwampMan because it reminded me of this thing that I had kind of read a long time ago. Didn't think much of it, to be honest with you. I still kind of don't. But this is from Donald Davidson, and this is called SwampMan. And this was an idea thought experiment. Introduction: The SwampMan is a thought experiment first proposed by Davidson in his 1987 paper, Knowing One's Own Mind. And we're going to take this, and we're going to go ahead and plug in Joe Biden's name for Davidson. The experiment goes like this. Suppose Biden went for a walk in a swamp and gets hit by a lightning bolt and consequently dies. Coincidentally, at the very same moment this happens in another part of the swamp, the lightning rearranges some molecules into the same form of Biden's body, copying every structure completely. This being is the SwampMan, which looks exactly like Biden to the smallest respects, and it walks out of the swamp. Is this being Biden? Is this being a being that is? Is this being a person? Does this being have the same thoughts as Biden? Does this being have thoughts at all? Davidson's own answer leans towards negative towards all these questions. Yeah, and the argument is that he kind of just basically walks around like a zombie. It's a really weird theory, and it wasn't very well received either. But could that be what President Trump is talking about in regards to Biden? Is this being a Biden? Is this Biden a being? Don't really know, but back to the thread. What we see here is that this was the original tweet where Biden was actually spelled B-I-D-A-N. I say it looks like the original is a bit different. It's got to see it. Biden. All right. Then I added a couple of notes, and this was just after having seen it. Bidan is a small Aboriginal community located 110 kilometers east of Broome in the Kimberley region of Western Australia, within the Shire of Derby, West Kimberley. Eyes on Western Australia? Okay, well, I'm not so sure, but these were just some thoughts I was popping out right off the bat. Bidan also means midwife in Malay. And then there were a bunch of you that were wondering whether or not this was, basically saying by Dan, as in Dan Coates. Is Dan Coates our DC, as in Panic in DC? Not really sure, but like I said, oddly enough, the topic of North Korea was one that DC and POTUS tended to butt heads about. Now, I'm still not sure that's really what it is. Thanks to French Mike, who memorized us. Sorry, Mike, I couldn't find a way to link you there. But we had seen this tweet back in June 1559. Lisa Page, Viva la Resistance. Viva versus Vive. So there's definitely some significance, and we've seen this a few times. Also with the name Michael, the replacement of the A and the E here. It looks like there's definitely some code going back and forth between us, Q, and POTUS. And so here I'm asking, is Joe Biden a swamp zombie? Well, we kind of already established that. But then Anon on HN gives us this. Bidan Island, North Korea-China connection. Check out this article from 2006. North Korea may designate Bidan Island in North Pyongan province as a new special economic zone. Japan's Tokyo Shimbun newspaper said Tuesday that Pyongyang is planning to resettle the island's current residents to make way for the construction of a financial center that would be opened up to the outside world. The report added that during his visit to China in January, North Korean leader Kim Jong-il had received Beijing's advice and support on the matter. Located near the mouth of the Abruk River that serves as the north border with China, Bidan Island has a population of around 200,000. All right, resettling the island's residents to make way for the construction of a financial center that would be open to the outside world. Open to the outside world. Okay, so I wonder how the World Bank feels about this. I also want to point out too that there is another Bidan Island. Pulau Bidan Island is a small island off the coast of Yan Kedat, Malaysia, located 17 nautical miles north from Penang. The island was used by Australian Defence Force personnel and families from Butterworth, Penang as a holiday retreat for a week or two in the 1970s and 80s. With little to no contact with the outside world except by two-way radio, access was generally via boat from Penang Island. One or two islands to the north of Bidan Island were also used by the Royal Australian Air Force as air weapons range or target practice range by the Australian Fighter Aircraft Squadron stationed at Butterworth Air Base. Okay, well, not really sure if that's the one that we're talking about, but figured I'd show it to you anyway. So there you go, but it looks like whatever's going down is going down in public for Japan. Not so much with China, and that shouldn't be a real big surprise, as well as South Korea. And I'm sure that there are still a lot of deep state contingencies within South Korea that may not want to see the unification of Korea. It's going to remain to be seen how it all kind of plays out, but I have a feeling we have some upcoming summits that may give us a little bit of insight on that. For now, let's go ahead and move on to 3349. Post 3349, 1 minute after the hour at 12. Q takes us back to 3127 from March 20th. Ask yourself a very simple Q. Would the fake news media and other controlled assets expend this amount of time and resource attacking, attempt to discredit, cast as a conspiracy? And for those of you who don't know, a LARP is a live action role player, basically who's somebody who just pretends to be something that they're not online. This movement, if it did not pose a significant threat, danger in brackets, you attack those who threaten you the most. Logical thinking Q. And I just wanted to note here that we have D20 in the JPEG here. I'm not really sure what that means. Interesting enough. Well, we all know that the mainstream media is expending all their ammo right now. Look, the Trump-Russia collusion failed a long time ago. And now they're kind of falling apart at the seams. You got Nancy Pelosi, who is claiming some sort of cover-up is going on. You've got John Brennan getting more and more vocal as everything really starts to lead back to him. We're starting to see now the Italian contingency involved in helping Hillary Clinton with this campaign back in the day. So lots going on in regards to this D-class. And although I haven't had a chance to catch much of it, we will be talking more about it in future videos. But as you can see, we've got ourselves a little circular fire squad, as everyone likes to talk about these days, right? And you've got Comey, Brennan, all selling themselves out. So interesting times, and I find it also interesting that POTUS was on a plane to get out of the country. Seems like he always is when big stuff drops. Now, I don't know about that D20, but there is going to be a G20. This is from Reuters. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Wednesday that he may meet U.S. President Donald Trump on the sidelines of a gathering of G20 nations next month in Japan. Trump said on Monday he planned to meet Putin at the G20 gathering. The Kremlin said on Tuesday that Putin was open to such a meeting, but that Moscow had not yet received any formal request from Washington for such a meeting to be held. Now let's shout out to our friends in Europe. Pro-Europe vote fragments, but limits nationalist gains in the EU election. Parties from the bloc's elections showed on Sunday, though far-right and nationalist opponents saw strong gains. Well, good. We'd like to see that. France's Emmanuel Macron, who has staked his presidency on persuading Europeans that the EU is the answer to the challenges of an uncertain, globalizing world economy, took a personal hit when his centrist movement was edged into second place by Marine Le Pen anti-immigration, anti-Brussels national rally. But Macron's renaissance, built on the ruins of center-left and center-right parties, added to gains for liberals at the EU level as turnout bounced sharply across the bloc, along with a surge for the Greens. That meant four groups occupying the pro-EU middle ground lost under 20 seats, securing 505 seats out of 751, according to a projection by the European Parliament. That may complicate some policy making, as a two-party grand coalition of the Conservative People's Party and the Socialists no longer have a majority. The Liberals, with over 100 seats, and Greens, with nearly 70, want a big say. But it also dents the hopes of Le Pen, Italian Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini, who also saw a win, and others who have been seeking to disrupt attempts to forge closer EU integration. Salvini called the elections a mandate for a shakeup in Brussels. But tensions among nationalists, who also include the Polish and Hungarian ruling parties and the new Brexit party of British campaigner Nigel Farage, have limited their impact on policy. The big thing is that the gains for the extremists were not substantial. Okay. Guntram Wolff, head of the Bruegel economics think tank in Brussels, told Reuters. Luxembourg's liberal Prime Minister Javier Bettel tweeted, "Europe wins. Voter turnout very high and pro-Europe parties strong." And here's what Mr. Nigel Farage had to say. Never before in British politics has a party just 6 weeks old won a national election. If Britain does not leave the EU on October 31st, these results will be repeated at a general election. History has been made. This is just the beginning. Well, I would agree. This is definitely just the beginning. This is still going to be a fight. This is still a polarizing issue out there. But it was definitely a massive win, particularly for the Brexit party. And if you go over here to their Twitter, they've got all the different winners from the MEP candidates here: East Midlands, Southwest, Yorkshire, and the Humber. West Midlands, as you can see, we got lots and lots of wins for the Brexit party. Interesting stuff. Here's what Ben Habib had to say. Well, we showed them tonight a historic result we launched 7 weeks ago and proved in that short time that the nation still wants Brexit, and Brexit with a no deal. Thank you, everyone, for all your support during the campaign. Now to deliver the will of the people. Well, we are behind you on that, and we hope that that's the way it works out. So congratulations to all of you out there. Congratulations to France. Congratulations to Italy, and also congratulations to Orban out there in Hungary. All right, Patriots, that's all I got for you for now. There's actually about a million other things I would love to get at you with, but I'm going to save some of it for the next video. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. I greatly appreciate it. If you're new to this channel, welcome to you. Please keep in mind that from time to time, you're going to get unnotified, unsubscribed, and all that kind of stuff, and it might be a little bit difficult to find my videos. I find it a little bit easier if you type in IPOT, but I'm afraid there's nothing I can do about it. So do me a favor, you don't need to send me emails to tell me that you're having a hard time finding my videos, because I already know that you're having a hard time finding videos, because I go through the same stuff that you do. Yep, that's true. Just do me a favor, recheck yourself, re-click yourself, re-notify yourself, or resubscribe yourself, and I greatly appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Thanks so much. My alternate links are down below: my Gab, my BitChute, my Brighteon.com, and I'm over here at Twitter at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. All those links are down below. If you'd like to send me some information, you can email me. My email link is down below. I've got a P.O. box down there if you want to send something old school. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below too. All those links are down below, and I'm going to leave that SwampMan thing for you down below too. All right, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay funky.